I need water. Hang on.
Well, it's too late. It's too late. Alicia went to go get water right as I hit the start broadcast button, but we're live, so I can't do anything about it, and I'm certainly not going to restart just for her. She's the one that dropped the ball. So here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Torch Snuffers. I can hear her water. Wow. Welcome to the Torch Snuffers. I am your host, Colin Connors. With me, as always, is my wonderful, thirsty co-host, Alicia Garza.
Hello.
Also joining us today, the beautiful and talented Elise Anderson.
Hello.
The always insightful Alex Cash.
Coming in, guys.
The man from Massachusetts, Ben Millier.
Hi, friends.
Okay, so we got a lot to talk about. It was another fantastic episode. Liz is gone. Alicia, how are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling like Matt on it, to be honest.
Okay, see, the reason why I'm giving her junk, all you viewers/listeners, it's because they were giving me so much junk for my winner pick, Jennifer, leaving last week. So now that Alicia's winner pick is gone, she can also feel the shame of being out of our little contest so early. Because, I mean, we're only 3 episodes in. This has already been a fantastic season.
But
so,
see,
Ben,
I wasn't super invested in my winner pick, so I'm feeling all right.
But I'm going to make fun of you this whole time for getting third. How dare you? All right, that winner pick was bad. Ben, I want to talk with you right off the bat. Something I noticed is when we got to the Beauty Tribe at the beginning of the episode, flat out it was stated that Julia and Michelle were in that alliance. Now, what do you think the long-term implications of this were? Because it was hinted at a little bit in the first episode and not talked about at all in the second episode. And I guess I'm just a little confused about its lack of visibility or what. Like, what's going on with that?
One, I thought the editing for this episode was really weird in general, and we got a lot of surprises that came out of left fields. But specific to the 3-person female alliance on the Beauty Tribe, I think that, to me, that read good signs, but that's me being biased because 2 of my 3 fantasy picks are in that alliance. But I personally believe that that's a good thing, that it's trying to reinforce it into the viewer's memory that it's an established thing, because Beauty hasn't really had any strategic elements to it in the game so far. So the fact that they were building ground off of that is what was established at the beginning of the episode, and then getting Caleb as a 4th. To me, that reads positive rather than negative. Okay.
And I mean, that's a fair assessment. And just for everyone's sanity, what we're doing is we are going to talk about the Beauty Tribe, then the Brawn, then the Brain Tribe, but we're going to keep them sequestered so that way it's just a much more kind of flowy conversation. So Alex, he's dressed as Jeff Probst tonight. I want everyone to take a moment and enjoy that. I'm going to give him the little click. There we go. Look at him. Oh, Jeff Probst. What's your take on kind of what's going on with the Beauty Tribe? I mean, Ty did find the idol. So how is that going to play in with the female alliance? Is Nick still screwed? Let's just talk about it.
Well, the fact that Anna said that she trusts Ty, even after what we saw in episode 1, that's a good sign for his prospects. And I think the fact that Nick is being identified as a target is, at the same time, wholly predictable because of just how much of a slime ball he comes off as. And I don't think it's going to stick that long because, spoiler, if we are getting a medevac next episode, then we're probably getting a tribe swap right after, and Nick's going to be able to run to greener pasture. So I think that Nick is definitely in as much trouble as we've seen this episode, and has probably been in as much trouble for a few more days than we've seen.
Okay, very fair. Alicia, I want to hear your comments on the beauties, the beautiful beauties.
The beauties are killing it. Like, they are kicking ass in challenges. I was kind of marveling at that right now as I watched it. Ty is really precious and full of emotion and feeling. You know, the girls are okay with it and are kind of back to bonding with him and connecting with him a little bit, I think, over it. Caleb continues to shock and surprise me with, like, how hero-y and, like, non-douchey he is. So, you know, the Beauty Tribe has been a very pleasant surprise all around for me.
And I guess, Elise, you're the queen of liking douchey guys. Is the fact that Nick is such on the outs just a testament to how coherent the Beauty Tribe is, or is that just the narrative they're pushing right now? What do you think?
I think they need to show something strategic for Beauty because they haven't been to Tribal Council. Like Alicia said, they've been killing it at the challenges. I think they just had something to fill the space, and Nick will give like probably 10 douchey comments a day, so they just fill it with whatever and move on to the next episode.
And I just want to point out, Alicia is also claiming Queen of Douchey Guys. So if you are a nice guy, you will be finishing last. But speaking of nice guys finishing last or not finishing last, Ben, Ty was given this kind of mourning of the chicken. And what I thought was really interesting about the edit tonight with Ty with that is normally when you have someone on Survivor that mourns over the chicken, it's like a joke and it's laughing about them or who cares about the chicken. Ty was getting a really sympathetic edit. And I'm starting to think that Ty might actually be a real contender this game, not a pre-merger. What do you think?
I wouldn't go as far to say contender, because I honestly, when push comes to shove, I don't think he can do the like cutthroat elements of the strategic game based off of the edit that he's getting right now.
But he could make it further. Like I'm saying, he could get 7th.
Yeah, he could make it to mid to possibly late merge. What I did find striking for him in this episode, or just like a reaction to him in this episode, is I'm not used to someone having an idol that is that sympathetic. I'm very intrigued to see what's going to happen with him in the idol, because I honestly do not know what to expect, what he would do with it.
And I mean, he seems like someone that would give the idol to Caleb come merge, or give it to, you know, anyone but Nick come merge. So I think that's a very good point you just made. But speaking of which, and everyone can comment on this, after last week we saw all those stupid steps to get the idol, and then there had to be a key, and then there was a box with an idol on it. Are we also in agreement that this is just a little much?
Well, what I think is that it's a little much on the Beauty Tribe, because it has taken over so much of their airtime when we could be seeing more. But on the Bronze, we have had 2 tribal councils from them. We have seen pretty much all of the social dynamics that matter from them. I doubt that anything would change with regard to Alicia being the one on the bottom. So having the idol chase sequence there was great TV, because it gave us something from it.
That's true. And I mean, unless there is a swap, I do think Alicia is on the bottom. But let's go ahead. I think we are officially done with Beauty. I mean, Nick's on the outs. The girls are strong. Caleb and Ty are cute. What I really want to kind of talk about tonight was Sydney. I feel like she was the dark horse in terms of playing the thread and playing with Elise. I always get confused. Alicia. No.
It's Alicia.
Alicia. There's too many Elises. Alicia. She played that thread perfectly. We saw that little shot of her taking the sand back on the box. We saw it constantly. So I think she is actually now the front runner. Let's have that conversation.
The front runner of the Bronze Tribe,
yes.
or the front runner of the game?
Bronze Tribe.
I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. I just think Kyle, Jason, and Scott, who you'd think would be 3 people but are only 2, are really tight, and Jason has the idol, and so I think those 2 are definitely in the best position in the tribe over Sydney, who has at least, like, I mean, she's not a dude, so she's not as cool with them as they are with each other. Also, I mean, honestly, who just, like, leaves the fucking clue at the base of the tree and doesn't, like, grab it after finding it? Like, that's stupid. Like, that was not strategic.
I think she left it there so that way they could find it. Because I think she knew she was going to immediately go back with the guys. Ben, did you want to hop in?
I did. And this is answering your question by jumping to a different point, but when I saw the preview for next episode and I saw the reaction to who was medevacing, my thought was Sydney.
What?
Oh, okay.
There was like a hand that was bloody.
Explain that. Explain that.
The reason why I was saying that is because the 2 people that they shot to show reactions to what was happening were Ty and Alicia. And in my mind, they're not looking for Alicia for any type of sympathy shock at all. And the only way I think she would really react to it is if it was someone on her tribe, and I don't see it being one of the guys for some reason. So, yeah, I made a very large leap there, but that was what I thought from at the end of the episode.
Okay. what I'm going to say about that is, Ben, go ahead and make those large leaps because you can be like I am, which is I make large leaps all the time, and if I'm wrong, I just never bring it up. And then next week, if you're right, you can be like, oh, look how great I am, guys, blah, blah, blah.
More like I know that next week I'm not on the podcast, so I'm safe.
You're going to pop in just to gloat, though, if you're right, for like a minute or so, right?
That's right.
All right. But besides that, I think Sydney's playing perfectly. Elise, all right, what's your take on what's going on? And especially with the whole idol thing, is Scott and Kyle going to be the villains of this season? Is Alicia just on the outs and is just awful?
I think Sydney's kind of the MVP of the Braun tribe by default because Alicia isn't really, like, we see her being on the outs and doing well, yay, she's, like, making fire, but then it's instantly, oh, she's doing this dumb thing and giving other people idol clues and whatever. I feel like Scott and Jason, like every single douchey person in this game has been the villains of, like, more so, it's not like a Tony Vlachos thing where he becomes like the hero. It's all the villains are being set up to fail, which is great, but I feel like it's not good for Scott and Jason's game, not good for Nick's game, not good for Peter's game.
Yeah.
While we're seeing Ty and Debbie being put in a spotlight, so I'm not hopeful for them at all.
And that's actually a very good comment to make because Probst even said that this season gets really nasty, almost worlds apart level, and maybe they learned from that season in editing that what we're going to get is just all the douchebags just get voted off one by one, which, while, you know, it would feel good, it would be cathartic in a way, doesn't necessarily make the best TV. Alex, you wanted to pop in.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that there is more than our fair share of douches, and it's being made tolerable by the fact that they're getting their swift comeuppance, or at least, you know, Peter Hussein Obama is at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So if I may be allowed to make a baseless prediction, as
go ahead,
I will say that Alicia outlast the rest of her Braun competitors, and it will be entirely by accident.
I mean, she is getting the Cochrane confessional where she was like scrunched up in a rock or something. So yeah, she's got that going.
I think there is some parts in my head where she actually makes it to final three. She doesn't win. She gets 0 votes.
Well, of course. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. She's an unlikely narrator, and yet they're having her narrate a lot of what's going on the Braun tribe.
Okay. So, Ben, do you agree with us, or are we just all taking crazy pills?
I mean, I can't even pass judgment at this point.
This season is such like a complete mess, and it's so much fun to analyze, just like last season, but for a completely different way. Last season it was all, oh well, who's gonna blindside this person and who's gonna flip flop. This season we're like, everyone's kind of crazy and a douchebag. we don't know.
Like season after such an intensely involved season.
Mm-hmm. It is nice. Like I said before, this is like almost a Nicaragua-like vibe that I'm getting from this cast, and I'm hoping it doesn't get too mean. So I guess.
I think.
Yeah, we're definitely fine. So are we done with bronze? Because, I mean, we're blowing through this.
Oh, I would just like to say Sydney was killing it in the fashion department. Her America bikini was so good. And, like, I also loved her neon yellow shoes. So
I noticed the bikini, too. It was awesome.
It was great.
I'm willing to bet I noticed it more than all of y'all combined. Okay, Ben, go ahead.
I'm also going to say that I think that she was a good character this episode, which I think is what she's going to be focused around long-term if she makes it long-term, as more of a character than a strategic player in the game. So I think it was good in developing her as a character.
So she's the Crystal Cox 2.0.
Potentially.
Still. Okay.
She had a couple good quips and one-liners at the beginning of the episode.
All right. So, with all of that being said, let's get to the meat, the raw, juicy, brainy meat of this episode, which was the Brains Tribe. Okay, Elise, you love talking about the douchebags, and you love talking about Peter. The only thing, my only complaint really about how it went down is, to me, it was a little bit too on the nose, because Peter got constant confessionals about how dumb everybody was. Normally 1 or 2 confessionals where they're like, oh, I'm so in charge, everyone listens to me is enough. I feel like there was a constant undertone of Peter being a jerk and, oh, I mold people out of clay and I'm an ER doctor, so I'm smart.
Yeah.
What's your take on it? Did the editors go a little bit too far?
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that these are new players, because when you're a returning player, you know not to make comments like, oh, I'm in control of this game, everything's going my way, I'm an ER doctor, blah, 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 blah. You're not going to pull a Drew Christie, but I feel like there are so many people this season that have potential to pull a Christie, and I'm loving it. Like, over the top, and I think that may just be part of his personality. He's hyped up because he's on Survivor, he's hyped up because he's on the Brains, and then he flops instantly. I love it.
It is great. But Ben, what I want to know is, this is the Brains tribe, so they're all super smart, they're all completely over-analytical, they're like org players, people that play the online Survivor games, where they're too busy thinking 3 moves ahead to see the massive target in front of them, i.e. when I played a game with Alicia and no one voted her out because they were being dumb. But don't you think it would have made a little bit more sense with them knowing that a swap was coming up to actually get rid of Peter now? Because that's what I don't get, because these are supposedly Survivor superfans. They know a swap's probably coming next episode. And would you rather have Peter be stirring crap against you or Liz?
I'm 100% thinking that, unfortunately, the right person went home tonight. I think that Peter is smart, but he just presents himself as a douche, which will make it more difficult for him to make any connections or the swap that he will be able to make to because of the medvac.
Yeah.
But I think that with Liz, people could be surprised, and she would be more able to integrate herself, knowing that she made it through.
And you know what? You're completely right. And we actually have a Survivor parallel to this. In Survivor One World, Colin got everyone to throw a challenge to get rid of Bill Posley because the episode before that they voted out Matt. Now, Colton was correct in assuming that Bill would be a much bigger threat along the lines than Matt. So I feel like that's correct. That's a very similar situation. And I think everything I said leading up to my question of you is kind of irrelevant, because that's a great point, that Liz would do much, much better at hiding than someone like Peter, because he's just such a douche, much like Matt Quinlan. Alex, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I also think that one of the reasons that they may have chosen to go with Liz, besides the challenge strength argument, which that factors in every season, but there's also just the fact that, as we saw last episode, and as I noted in my column that I posted like 4 minutes before the episode began tonight, Liz just has this complete inability to register emotion on her face. Like, even as she was crying last episode, she seemed to vibrate rather than, actually make a sad face. And it's the kind of thing where if I was on that tribe, I would say, does she ever not have just that sort of insincere...
Is anyone else getting that?
Is she hard to read? I would be worried about how hard to read that is.
It just,
What?
I don't.
Did anybody break up? Did Alex break up on your guys' end, or was it just on my end?
I think
No,
it's
it
just
was
multiple people talking.
No, I think she has a case of like resting bitch face that like doesn't particularly go away. So I think you're right, Alex. I think people see that and interpret that as like, I'm so over you, when really that's just like her natural state.
Okay.
And so that is kind of like intimidating, or it just like puts people off and makes them think like she's not approachable or she's not, willing to work with them. So that's definitely, that was a detriment to her.
Okay. So, with all that being said, Liz is gone. But I want to talk about something that's extremely, extremely interesting. We've been getting a Debbie is so stupid edit. Debbie is so weird. Debbie is so quirky edit. Debbie was right, and Debbie was on the right side of the vote tonight, and her strategy was right, and she successfully lied to Liz. I think Debbie's whole I'm playing up this quirkiness is actually a relatively decent strategy on Brains. It's not a winning strategy, but I think it's going to keep her around. Ben, you're nodding your head.
Do we think it's a strategy, though, or do we think it's just her?
It could be a little bit of both, but what I'm saying is that it's working. Go ahead, Ben. I want to hear you talk about how right I am.
I'm fully on your ship right now. I'm going out to sea with you. I'm so turned around, in my opinion, to Debbie after this episode. I was like...
I thought you were going to say I'm so turned on.
among other things.
That's for the Survivor after show.
I was like almost vehemently against her the first 2 episodes because I just thought she was an annoyance of a character and she was there just to be someone you either would really fall for or really despise. In this episode, she had that character persist, but she backed it up by actually having actions that show that she can play the game as well. So I think this episode showed her competence, which is what I'm really getting behind. And seeing how that's going to work in her favor or her detriment with her large personality.
I actually think, though, if she finesses it right, she could actually fly under the radar with her big personality for quite some time. And the fact that she was able to not even get, any votes casted against her is a good sign. Elise, you wanted to say something?
Oh, I wanted to say I think it helped her, I think she's a very competent player. I think it helped her a lot that they didn't go to the tribal, first episode, because I think that's when people start realizing there's more to her than just this big personality. She's actually a solid ally and much better to work with than Liz or Peter. I think it's lucky for her that they didn't go to tribal, but now that she's past that stage, I think she'll do really well.
I'm willing to say right now. Go ahead.
So yeah, I think that the gut reaction was to do the young people and have them be an alliance. But since that alliance wasn't tested at all, it was very easy for that to drift apart and for people to actually start doing what they wanted instead of where if they'd gone first, they'd kind of more be locked into that group because they would have already acted as a one unit.
Mm-hmm.
Very good point. Alex, you wanted to jump in.
One thing I would say is that I wouldn't call that flying under the radar. That's flying over the radar.
I like that.
Or whatever, wherever she is.
I mean, in a way, Tony flew over the radar, and over the radar could be a strategy. I mean, I was going to say Philip Shepard in Redemption Island kind of flew over the radar, but he was also kind of dragged along with that. But I'm willing to make a prediction, and that is Debbie makes merge. Easily. Hands down, she makes merge now. Anyone want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we thought that she was getting tons of airtime episode 1 and 2 because she was going to go episode 2, but now that she's firmly, in past episode 3, now they're not going to waste all that time on her just for her to leave next episode. That just doesn't.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if there was a swap, she wouldn't be the first target. No. And she's safe on the brain side, especially with Peter on the outs. So I guess I want to talk about, even though Debbie did get most of the screen time, what's the role of Joe, Aubrey, and Neil? Because I love that 4-person alliance. I feel like it's a great 4-person alliance, but is there a possible winner in that, especially with Neil, and anyone can jump in on that? Because I liked what we saw from him tonight.
You did? He felt really feisty at tribal council, which is never a good thing.
I thought Neil was getting positive vibes, though, because Neil was sticking up for himself.
I guess. I just think you're supposed to take tribal council as a neutral, not make waves kind of a thing. Although pretty much everyone on this season is not doing that. So at this point, it doesn't really, you're not sticking out if you're doing it because everyone to your left and right is too.
And I do just want to point out what just happened with me throwing something out there and they're getting no response. That's also atypical of my love life and not just Survivor chatting, so don't worry, viewers, I am used to it. I did think Neil had a great episode. Alex, let's talk about Aubrey. What is her future? Is she going to be stuck in the Neil wagon? And even though we didn't see much from her tonight, do you think there's a lot of potential there, or what?
I think, edit-wise, her potential sort of depends on whether or not she gets separated from Neil when they go to another tribe. Because if she has the opportunity to go on to a different tribe from him and make her own moves that can't be painted as part of Neil's thing, and I realize that we're just two seasons removed from Kelly being all about Mike's story, even across tribe. But I think if she gets some separation, she has a real future in this game. But I do think she'll be perceived as the journey player. Well, she'll be perceived by us viewers as the journey player, and she'll be perceived by others as Neil's beta.
I'm not
Alright,
sure
that's
exactly, and I guess this is also because this is the first time Beauty's gone to tribal, so we haven't seen much strategy. But to me, it just kind of seemed like Debbie was the shot caller, and the other three, Nick, Aubrey, and Joe, were kind of just like the sheep that were like, okay, well, that saves me, so let's do it. I didn't really see any sort of like strategic thing. And even when Aubrey tried to bring up like, hey, maybe it should be Peter instead, Debbie just kind of like put her foot down and was like, no, but Liz. And then they were like, okay, well, never mind. So I don't know how, I mean, and they're on brains, so I'm sure there has to be some strategy there, but I haven't seen any of it yet.
Okay. And I believe, Elise, you want to chime in on the Aubrey.
No, I just wanted to chime in for my poor fantasy team pick, Joe, who I don't think even got a confessional this week despite Brains going to tribal council, which makes me really worried for his potential because everything that he's doing is being attributed to Debbie.
He did
And
have
Joe,
that
but he was working on his
morning
abs,
workout
though.
segment.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like the fact that Joe has a better body than
But, you know.
yeah. Joe has a much better body than me, and that's just, it's a weird feeling, when watching Survivor. Okay, Alex, I'm going to let you chime in on the Brains Tribe, and then I think we're actually going to start to wrap things up a bit.
In response to Alicia's point, I think that Neil and Aubrey did a better job of strategizing than we saw, simply because they're in the position where they have two different strategic tandems competing over them to try to get rid of the other. And, some people fall into that position by accident, and I don't think these guys did because I think they're too smart for that.
Okay. And that's a very fair point. And we're just gonna I think what we need though is we just need more time with the Brains. We need another tribal council, I think, with them to really kind of understand the momentum and how they're thinking. And it seems like if there's a medevac next episode, we probably won't get it. But with all that being said, though, I do feel like we were given a very obvious boot in Nick with Beauty, and a very obvious boot on the Braun trial as well. So who knows? Maybe the next episode won't be that interesting besides someone possibly dying. But I do think they're setting up a lot of good storylines come the swap, though. And I'm extremely, extremely excited for that, as everybody else. So before we wrap things up, I want to point out that Alicia's winner pick is out of the game. They can't win anything, so she's a loser. Okay.
So wait,
and
so you can call Alicia all episodes tonight, and then you refer to me, who is actually Alicia, as Alicia. Are you kidding me?
It's been a long night.
I have a soapbox to stand on before we go.
Okay, stand on your soapbox.
Okay, so back to the Brains. So also, I was thinking about this episode. You see Liz and Peter talking in the water, together in like low tones, and it's Debbie's like observing, and it's like pretty obvious that they're strategizing and not talking about like fun random stuff. Like, why weren't they sitting there like laughing hysterically, even though they might be like secretly strategizing, but pretending like they're telling stories or just entertaining each other? Like, I don't get it. I don't get why they're like so obviously there, like having serious discussions when they could have masked them so easily. Anyone else?
Because they thought they were in control of the game. That was their problem, is they thought they had so much power and so much control. But Neil, the ice cream winner, came back and jabbed them with an ice cream cone. At least that's what happened in my mind.
Okay.
Do you think Neil's going to give up an immunity necklace too?
Dude, okay, also back to that, Colin, there's no way Ty is giving up the necklace. He was like selfish enough to go search for it himself and be like, I need this. Like, there's no way he's just going to give it up. That doesn't make any sense.
Except maybe Caleb.
Though, in a merge situation, I see it's possible. But we'll see. We'll see who's right. And if you're all right, I'll just never bring it up again and pretend like I never said it. The way we always do things here. I do want to let all the listeners, viewers know, please, please, please respond to the comment of who you want to win. There's still time for you to enter. You can win some Bud Light stuff, a whole box full of ants, and all sorts of other goods. So you can win that hat, that Super Bowl 50 hat.
You can win other hats.
No, you can win Alicia's Super Bowl hat. So comment to this video below with who you think is going to win. Only a couple people have been taken. And also, that's going on with all those panelists as well. Someone's going to win some ants, and it's going to be really exciting. So with all that being said, I want to thank Elise. I want to thank Ben. I want to thank Alicia. I want to thank Alex Cash dressed as Jeff Probst for joining me tonight for another fantastic episode, and I can't wait for next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.